Welcome to, or welcome back to, the Agatha May Detective Agency. I'm Agatha May, and I'm so glad you're here because otherwise I'd just be talking to myself. Tonight's episode is Chapter 2 in the Charity Beallis case. And in Chapter 1, we talked about the timeline and basic outline of the facts surrounding the death of Charity and her twins on December 3rd, 2025. And if you need to get caught up, I'll leave the link to Chapter 1 in the description below. In this episode, we're going to look at Randall Beallis, Charity's husband at the time of her death. I'll start with the caveat that there isn't a lot of information about Randall out there, but what I did find made me like him less and less the more I dug. Randall grew up in Illinois and attended Midwestern University in Downers Grove, Illinois, and then attended their medical college, the Chicago College of Osteopathic Medicine. He moved south to Florida for his internship and residency at Suncoast Hospital in Largo, Florida, from 1995 through 1998. He married fellow doctor Donna Berryman in 1997. But before 1998 was half over, the winds of Illinois were beckoning the couple back home, and by June of 1998, they were in Mattoon, Illinois, practicing family medicine together. In 2008, the family moved to Fort Smith, Arkansas. Fort Smith started its life in 1817 and was a military outpost. It sits on the Arkansas-Oklahoma border and is just south of the Boston Mountains. The Arkansas River curves around the north side of town, and if you drive south about an hour, you'll find yourself lost in the Ouachita National Forest. Or maybe you won't be lost if you have a map. So Randall and Donna moved to Arkansas with their 3 children. But it only took a year of Arkansas living before the couple was no longer a couple. And I'm not blaming Arkansas for the breakup. But I wonder if the reason they had moved there was to get a fresh start. On June 11th of that year, one of their daughters was performing at a gymnastics event in Illinois, and by the 18th of that month, Donna and Randall had joined to practice in Fort Smith. Donna filed for divorce in December of 2009, and her grounds for the divorce was general and personal indignities. And there was a fight for custody of the 3 children. Both fought for full custody, but in the end, Donna won out. And by April of 2010, the Beallises were divorced. When it came to child support, Randall argued that Donna was also a doctor with substantial earning capacity. So does that mean that Randall thought he wouldn't have to pay child support simply because his wife made money? I'm not sure, but whatever was the reason for that particular argument, it didn't work. Randall was ordered to pay $3,000 a month in child support and was able to have the children from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, which seems like a really odd custody arrangement to me. 3 years after Donna had filed for divorce, she filed a motion with the court to suspend Randall's visitation with the children. She stated that the 2 younger children had been hospitalized recently for, quote, ongoing emotional problems and fear associated with the visitation that they have with the father, Randy Beallis, end quote. A licensed counselor wrote a letter on behalf of the Beallis children, and in that letter she wrote that one of the Beallis children stated that, quote, Dad terrorizes us. The letter further stated that the children became extremely nervous every day before their father was going to pick them up from school. The judge in the case ordered that the children and their father attend counseling sessions twice a week. There were no other filings in that case, and in August of 2016, the judge dismissed the case from lack of activity. And I hope that means that the children were able to visit their father without any nervousness or fear once they'd gone through counseling. I'm not going to definitely say that one of the reasons Donna wanted a divorce from Randall was because he was having an affair, but boy howdy, I think it was. He married his second wife, Shauna, a month after his divorce was final. And considering their divorce only took 4 months, it's not a stretch to imagine that he was seeing Shauna while he was still with Donna. She was a nurse, so I suspect there might have been a workplace romance happening. And it makes me wonder if infidelity was also the cause of the Beallises moving to Arkansas. Randall and Shauna were married for less than 2 years, but it wasn't divorce that separated them, it was death. On January 5th, 2012, Shauna died from a gunshot wound to the head. When police showed up to Randall and Shauna's home that winter morning, Randall met them at the door and told them that Shauna had killed herself. And I'm going to have a separate episode where we'll look at Shauna's death and peel apart the details to see if the ruling of suicide is questionable. And again, it was only 4 months from the end of one marriage until another began. In May of 2012, Randall married Charity, but they were divorced by November of that same year. And she was also a nurse, so again, I suspect a workplace romance. Randall remained single, or at least unmarried, until November of 2015 when he and Charity married again. In 2018, Randall Beallis was reported to the medical board by Mercy Hospital in Fort Smith. The report stated that Randall had prescribed Charity Schedule II narcotics after surgery. Randall wrote a letter to the medical board that read, quote, "This was inappropriate and I regret not asking the surgeon to write this prescription. I assure you that this medicine was used appropriately. I am fully engaged in curtailing the opioid scourge and counsel patients daily on the subject. I apologize for my poor decision." End quote. So it was basically just an oops, my bad letter, and it worked. The medical board decided they would keep the documentation of the incident in Randall's file for information only just in case they needed it to reference again. But it's odd to me that Randall didn't ask the surgeon to just write the prescription to begin with. Why would he feel as though he needed to write it? Had the surgeon already denied Charity pain meds? Or was someone wanting her to be overmedicated? Charity gave birth to their twins in 2019. By 2020, there was friction between Charity and her oldest son, John. He was 17 at the time and had filed for removal of disability of a minor, also known as emancipation. He was granted his request, which meant he was no longer considered a minor and could make decisions for himself. Part of the reason he filed was because after a fight with his mother, she and Randall showed up to where John was staying and were attempting to stab his tires with knives. Both Randall and Charity were each holding one of the twins while stabbing the tires. Now, I don't know the circumstances of what was happening then. I don't know if Charity was forced to join Randall in the tire stabbing, but I will say that I don't condone her actions, especially not while holding a child. And she might have been fighting her own emotional or mental health battles at the time, and she might have been coerced by Randall and possibly even threatened. And while I don't excuse her actions, whatever the impetus, I will also never victim shame. Of the two people who were stabbing tires that day, only one of them was killed by being shot in the chest and then in the head. Randall and Charity were both charged with criminal mischief, and Charity received an additional charge of aggravated assault. After pleading no contest to the charge, Randall received a year's suspended sentence and had to attend 6 months of anger management classes. He again had to face the medical board, and again they voted to place the documentation in his file just in case it was needed again. I'm starting to wonder how many just in case filings a doctor can have before the board takes disciplinary action. Well, in 2025, they had another opportunity when Randall was charged with felony aggravated assault and misdemeanor counts of domestic battering and endangering the welfare of minors. And he would eventually plead guilty to a misdemeanor charge of domestic battery, and again he received a year suspended sentence. So Randall had to face the medical board yet again. He wrote a letter to the board explaining what happened, that Charity wouldn't let him see her phone, and he, quote, made the mistake of taking the phone out of her hand. She went into a rage and started hitting me. I was being blocked in the bathroom and had no other choice but to use some physical force to get out. I never squeezed her neck nor choked her at any time, end quote. And Randall claimed he wanted to see her phone because he had seen texts from Charity to her father about wanting to get a divorce. However, according to the police report about the incident, Randall told the officer on the scene that he pushed Charity against the wall, shoved her into the sink. Charity then ran outside, and Randall chased her and then grabbed the phone. So, not exactly what he told the medical board. And what makes this incident especially unhinged is how completely nutso Randall became over a phone. The idea that Charity had private conversations he couldn't access was enough to flip some kind of switch that somehow in his mind justified chasing her down so he could rip the phone from her hands and escalate the situation to the point that police were involved. I think this dude might be a little cuckoo netter puffs. And let's also be very clear about what his phone obsession implies. He didn't just want to see the phone, he wanted to monitor, verify, and police Charity's thoughts. She wasn't allowed autonomy. Seeing text about divorce wasn't a threat to his safety, it was a threat to his authority. He had a very how dare you reaction, and he wasn't acting in self defense. He was enraged that he couldn't access information he believed he was entitled to. And the letter he wrote the medical board was just a big old fat lie. Randall paints himself as restrained and cornered, and oh, that 125-pound woman was coming after me. I was so scared, but that's not what happened. The police report tells a much messier, more aggressive story. He pushed Charity into a wall, shoved her into a sink, chased her outside, and then took the phone. Those details didn't accidentally slip his mind. He purposely changed the narrative to match the story he was selling to the board. So either the medical board didn't bother to compare his letter with the police report, or they did and just didn't care and chose to look the other way. When someone is willing to lie to a governing body about violence, minimize their actions, and reframe control as victimhood, it raises a much bigger question. How often had Randall rewritten reality before? And how often do people let him get away with it? How many other times has he lost his cool because he wasn't in control and not getting his way led to violence? Charity emailed the board to inform them that the Arkansas State Police Crimes Against Children Division would be notifying Mercy Rehab, where Randall was employed, that he had pending child abuse charges. That same division recommended that Randall be placed on the Child Maltreatment Central Registry. There was also an anonymous submission to the board that alleged that Randall had abused Charity and the children and gave details of incidents between July 2024 and February 2025. But old Andy Randy just said it was a bunch of lies and that the twins had been instructed by Charity to lie to the police about him abusing them. So were his older children also lying back when they said Dad terrorizes us and had to be hospitalized because of the distress they were experiencing? The medical board discussed Randall during their October 2025 meeting and decided to table any further discussion or action against him. So I guess it was just another, we'll put it in his file just in case, decision. According to Randall's attorney, he is assisting police with their investigation and had nothing to do with the deaths of Charity and the twins. Time will tell if he reverts back to his 4-month time limit before getting married again. There have been no arrests made in the murders, and anyone I've talked about is innocent until proven guilty. Thank you so much for being here. Please share, like, and comment so more people can learn about Charity's case. And before I say goodbye, I want to give a shout out to my Nancy Drew crew. Thank you so much for your support. I'll be back soon with more true crime. Until next time, stay safe and be happy.